commands of the tool, clone stamp tool as well as pattern stamp tool. The shortcut key for this is S on the keyboard. Now, very easy to understand clone stamp tool is define your source for the cloning by pressing Alt and clicking on that spot and just start painting. And you see now two pointers of my mouse, one is source and one is destination, and the clone stamp is just copying the pattern or the image from the source and printing it on the destination. One option of using clone stamp tool is on the same layer. Just define your source by holding an Alt key on the keyboard and click on that spot, and then adjust your destination point and start painting. While doing this, we are destroying the original layer of the image by using the clone stamp tool. But there is one more option, which is say sample all layers and take a new layer and do the same thing on the new layer. So I define one source and adjust this to make it look realistic, and I start painting with the clone stamping tool. And now I have this new layer, but my original image is intact. We have one more option called aligned, and if you switch it off and take the source point and start painting, but now I leave my mouse click, the left mouse click, and then again restart the process, I lose my alignment and I lose the alignment to the texture or to the pattern. However, if I select the aligned option, let's redo this with the aligned option switched on, and now I select my source point and I try to align it exactly on another brick to make the seamless pattern of the bricks. And if I now start painting with the stamp tool, I get this seamless pattern. And if I leave my mouse click and then again restart from any point, from anywhere, I still have my source and destination aligned, and I still get the seamless pattern of the bricks. The clone stamp tool works either on the current layer or on current and below, or on all the layers. So I have a couple of layers with these different color patches, and let's see if I use the clone stamping tool. Let's sample one area by holding on Alt key on the keyboard and start painting, and you'll see that all the layers are taken into consideration, and the clone stamping tool is cloning everything on all the layers. But if I say only the current layer, then it will not take the other layers. You'll see it is not taking that red and yellow patch. Now in the bunch of the layers, we have one adjustment layer which is making this image black and white, and if now I use my clone stamp tool, of course it is working with the adjustment layer which is making this image black and white. But we have one option over here which says that ignore the or turn off the adjustment layer, and in this situation if I use my clone stamping tool, it is ignoring the black and white effect created by the adjustment layer. We have seen how to use the clone stamping tool on one single image, but clone stamping tool can be used on multiple images. So let's go to Window and say clone source. We can assign 5 different image files, source from the file, 5 different image files, and bring that on one file. So I have around 6 images open on my desktop and in Photoshop, and to arrange these images we can go to Windows, say arrange, and since I have 6 images open, I say 6 up, and this is how the images are automatically arranged. So to assign the clone, the source of the clone, select the first clone stamp over here in the sources, and let's take source from this image. All you have to say, hold on Alt on the keyboard and click on the source. Now if I have to bring it on this empty kitchen desk or the dining desk, all I have to do is paint on it with the clone stamping tool, and the image is now transferred from this image, different image, to my desired image. Similarly, I can take another source from some other image, and let's take this image and again say Alt on the keyboard and click on the source. And third image I would like to take from this image, Alt and select your source. And this is how I can bring in images from different image files with a clone stamping tool. I click on the source 2 and it is bringing the image from this image file, and it is also taking the resolution and the image size into consideration, and therefore this image is appearing smaller over here because the resolution of this image is very high and the resolution of this image is very low. So this is how I can bring different images on different image files. I can use the layers as well. I can use a different layer and take the source 3 and use my clone stamping tool, and the result I get is on different layer, and which is now I can move on this image. Similarly, I can also play around with the size of the image, so I can reduce the cloned image with percentage. Let's increase the percentage to 350 and now use the stamping tool, and you can see now the image is enlarged by 350%. I can also use the flip mirror image. So let's go back to 100% and you can see that my source and destination mouse movements are in reverse direction because I have assigned the flip option over here. There must be a question in your mind that do we really utilize these options? The answer is yes, and there are specific needs by specific professionals or particular segment of artists. For example, textile designers might use some options which are not used by the graphic designer or the print designers. There are some options used by the 3D graphics artist to create the patterns and textures for their 3D animations and 3D modeling, which other designers might not use, or there are specific options utilized by the cartoonist or the illustrators or character illustrators, which are not commonly used by many of the artists. We'll also try to utilize these options similar to clone stamping tool and the clone source in the project segments and project videos, so that you can understand practical utilization of these rarely used options. The next tool hidden in the clone stamp tool flyout menu is pattern stamp tool. With the pattern stamp tool, we can use these ready patterns, and there are so many other patterns, and we can use these patterns to create the textures and patterns or the design elements by controlling the opacity of this tool as well as the blending modes of these tools. With the pattern stamp tool, we can also create our own pattern. So let's take the marquee tool and let's select the diced beetroots over here and go to edit and say define pattern. And then you see a small thumbnail of your selection. If you don't select, then the pattern will be created out of entire image. So let's give it a name and say OK. And now you can see, you can go to the pattern stamp tool, and in the list of the drop down of the patterns, you'll see the image we just selected and created pattern out of it. Now with that, let's deselect the selection, Ctrl D to deselect, and with the pattern stamp tool and the pattern selected. And now I take the pattern stamp tool and create a small selection over this image and go to edit and say define pattern, and on a new layer say Ctrl D to deselect this, go to pattern stamp tool and simply select the pattern you just created with the selection and simply start painting over the image. And now since I have done this on a new layer, my original image is intact.